Women in the Western culture enjoy so many opportunities and freedoms, but our next guest will tell us that it's not this in blah, 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 blah.
See, Shamail, she's going to feel so good about herself. She can't speak. Someone get her into an English class.
You can tell that I'm tired today. Our next guest will tell us that it's not this way in many places in the world. Okay, there we go. Try again.
All right. 3, 2.
Women in the Western culture enjoy so many opportunities and freedoms, but our next guest will tell us that it's not this way in many places in the world. Let's welcome Shamail, Tawana, Nasiri from Afghanistan to the table.
Welcome. Now,
Thank you so much.
Shamail is one of my friends, and I met her from another friend who I'm pretty sure is an immigrant as well. So Shamail obviously immigrated, and she's from Afghanistan, which is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. How many people do you know that are from Afghanistan that are here?
This is my first.
Zero. So this
nice
is
to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
yeah.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Afghanistan.
Thank you for having me in this podcast. And as you know, right now, Afghanistan, my home country, face a lot of challenges, like the government and the economic and education, everything. But as you know, right now, the Taliban took my country.
This was like 2022.
Yeah.
So Americans.
No, in 2021.
Oh, 2021. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. The American soldiers were there, but then they left, and it was chaotic. Everybody remembers that when they left Afghanistan. And immediately the Taliban came in. Tell us why that's not a good thing. What was happening? Actually, tell us what was happening before the Taliban came in.
Oh, before the Taliban, actually, if I talk about women's situation in Afghanistan, the treatment of women in Afghanistan has been deeply influenced by cultural, religious, and politics factors. And if I talk about our past 13 years in Afghanistan, before the Taliban, the situation was good. And everything was improving for women, and women was working in the government, and they had their own business, and they had participated in the art, everything.
And that was good for 13 years?
Just before the Taliban.
Okay. Yeah.
But we also had some good situation maybe 18 years ago, but it depends on exactly what
Everything's
politics.
changing, yes.
Everything is changing, yeah. But right now, since the Taliban took my country, women have faced many challenges, especially on their rights and freedom, because the Taliban put many restrictions on women's situation. If I talk about those, one of the most common restriction that the Taliban put in women is the education.
No education.
No education. Right
Not
now,
even in their youth?
they just allowed the girls to study elementary school.
Okay.
Like from
And then you're done.
grade 1 to 6.
Okay.
Not higher
past.
education.
Okay.
Yeah. And no woman right now have access to higher education like high school or university or educational center. Just the little girl have allowed to study. Yeah.
And if somebody tries to learn, and she's a woman, what happens?
They should study in hide.
They have to hide if they want to study. But what happens if they get caught?
So if the Taliban find out that some women have a private or a secret educational center or a course, they will arrest them or they make them in trouble. Because they are going to the educational center and look around if there is some woman like younger than age 12.
Yeah.
And they will close the educational center, or they will arrest the woman or put them in trouble.
One thing I
Yeah.
should mention really quick is that when Shamail came, you didn't speak any English when you came, or a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
She's
I
been
knew a
learning
little
English
bit.
for a year, and your English is amazing.
I would agree with you.
Very,
So
very good.
she does have an accent, but amazing.
Oh, thank
So
you.
you made it to grade 6, yes?
Me?
Yes.
Actually, I have a bachelor degree because I studied my bachelor degree in higher school before the
During that
Taliban.
time.
Before the
okay.
Taliban.
So then how did you make your way to the US?
When the Taliban took control, I was working in the Ministry of Mines and Petroleum.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I also had a library in my hometown in Daikundi province. And that library was just about for women. And we had some good programs like some seminars about gender equality and equality and about women's rights. And then when the Taliban took control, they just locked my library because we had some activities about women.
Right.
And they don't want any activity about women. They just want the woman to be at home and no working, nothing.
And the other thing that I learned with Shamail is that they're not even allowed to ride bikes. So Shamail didn't know how to ride a bike, so we learned. She came over and I put her on the tandem bike behind me and taught her how to ride a bike.
Yes.
So, but just things you don't think about that we can do here that we just take for granted. To be able to go to school and learn, to be able to ride a bike, you can't go out anywhere unless you have your husband, your father, or a brother.
Yes, the women don't have allowed to leave their homes or go to another place or province without a mahram.
Without
the
a man.
mahram should be their father or brother, not anyone else. And they also recently put another rule that the voice of women is should be private. They don't have allowed to speak in public.
Oh my goodness.
And they also require the woman should cover full body, like wear burqa.
So not just your head. It
Yeah.
used to be your head, but now you have to cover your full body.
Yeah.
And I read that it's not just you can't speak in public. Even in your own home, you cannot speak if
Loudly.
you can't speak loudly if they can hear you outside. Then you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
So
This is horrible.
This is like
Yeah, it
such
is.
crazy restrictions. So I know there was a lot of people who wanted us to leave Afghanistan, but I think it's interesting to see the perspective of what Americans did, what we helped have happen here in Afghanistan versus now what's happening.
Well, your personal story, I'm super interested though. So with all of those restrictions, how were you able to break away, or who did you leave behind?
So I had a movement, a group of women that we were protesting against the Taliban since 2021, and I was the founder of that movement. And then every restriction that Taliban put in women, we just go to the street and raise our voice, and especially our we wanted the United Nations or US or other countries like international organizations should hear our voice and see what happened in Afghanistan. And I after that time, then the Taliban tried a lot to arrest me and put me in prison. And then
I think they beat you up too.
yeah.
No, they really did. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
women
I believe you, but it's funny. Like I think they beat you up. Remember?
Yeah. She is right because
yes.
I told them.
But they can't even go to the hospital, so they come and they beat her up. But
Yeah.
she can't go to the hospital to be treated because the Taliban will find her there.
Yeah.
So you just have to go back to your house and bandage up as good as you can.
Yeah, and during one demonstration, the Taliban beat me and my sister very badly, and we were not able to walk in 2 weeks. and
my
we were not
wow.
able even to go to the hospital because they were looking for us to arrest us. And then we just stay at home, and my mom care of us. And after 2 weeks, we feel better.
So the way she got here is she was going to, well, first of all, the Taliban now had a bounty. I don't know if it was a bounty, but basically, if you see a poster that they
Yes.
wanted her dead, because she's the leader, so they
Right.
wanted her
Yeah.
no more. And so you left to come do a conference.
Yeah.
Right?
So, but like, I mean, my mind is just racing, right? Like, who buys the tickets? How does this work like, it's essentially like doing this work underground to get them to our country to be free of this.
Actually, we were 5 girls.
Okay.
The protesting girl. We were invited to a conference to talk. And
So she thought she
Yeah.
was coming to a conference to speak,
Okay.
yeah.
but it did not turn out that way.
What was it?
And
Yeah.
she, well,
Rescue?
Yeah,
all the
it was a
things
completely
changed.
Story, yeah.
it's
About-
actually it's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So condense it. Like we're like.
Things changed, and she ended up just coming through the border for asylum in the United States.
Wow.
So now she's here. And how did you make it to Utah? I'm trying to remember, because you came.
The organization that was
That was helping you.
that was helping me. It is in Utah,
Okay.
and the process was like this: that we should participate in a conference in Mexico, and then another conference would be in the Washington D.C.
So she thought she was going to do a conference in Mexico and one in D.C.
Yeah.
But when she got to Mexico, they're like, "Just kidding. We're going through the border, and now you're here in Utah, and see you later." And then they just left her.
So was that good intentions on their part, or no?
No, that was
No.
actually not good
No.
for us.
Because I would think
Because
it's so
They-
hard to like follow the story. Like
The
why-
reality is because of the women she was with, somebody in the U.S. was trying to get them here because she's a leader in this women's rights movement. She would likely get asylum here because they're with her, so she would help get them into the country.
So we're gonna jump to the end here because we're a shortage of time. So what's the final outcome? What's your cause here? Like what are you trying to do?
I just try to do something for women in Afghanistan, and I use every platform to raise their voice, because right now they really live in a very hard situation. They even cannot raise their voice, but they try to raise their voice, but the Taliban just looking for them and put them in trouble. And I just try hard to support them and talk about situation in Afghanistan, and the world should know what happened in Afghanistan, and also the other humans rights around the world, and also some organization who especially work about human rights should be responsible what happened in Afghanistan.
Yes,
because
yes.
it
It's
is-
horrific.
yeah, because the women that they are working in Afghanistan or fighting against the Taliban, they are just not fighting for themselves. They also fight for humanity, for freedom, for justice. And all the women around the world should be take an action to do something.
So our time's up, but what can we do to help? Is there anything we can do?
I think you as a woman, as a human, should support women in Afghanistan, the women who try to do something and they're just left by themselves and no one support them, even the man in Afghanistan.
Well, if we could help
And
fund or
anyways-
educate all of
Yeah.
those things, if there's somewhere we can go to maybe learn more, we would love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing
what a
your
sombering story.
Yes.
I'm glad you made it here safely.
This is honestly the bravest human I know. I mean,
Right.
imagine that
I can't
whole
fathom.
journey and then everything you've been through.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here.
Thank you so
Best
much.
of luck.
Thank you for inviting me to this studio.